Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Mindy with Mindy Egan Design, and today starts previews for CC Design. So I'm going to be showcasing the Cutie Cats stamp set. This is a super adorable stamp that will be available at CC Designs in a few days, and I'll have the release dates and links posted down below in the video description. Here is the stamp set. Look at those cats. Are they not just the cutest things ever? Anyways, so what I'm going to do for mine is I'm actually going to create a wreath of some of the cat items that are on that stamp set. There were a couple different images on there other than the cute kitties, so that's what I'm going to work with. I have a piece of cardstock here that measures 4 by 4, and this is Neenah Solar White cardstock. I'm using the Wreath Builder stencil from Gina Designs. I thought this would be super cute to have some of these images going around in a perfect circle, and that's what this Wreath Builder stamp is going to do. So I lined up my cardstock in that Wreath Builder, held that down with my magnet, and now I'm going to come in and use this KRAFT ink from Gina K, and that's what I'm going to start stamping my paw print with. And I'm leaving this first part in real time so that you can see how it goes, and then I do speed things up afterwards. So I just come in, I actually stamp my images twice because I didn't condition my stamps, so to make sure I got that nice solid impression, I stamped it twice, and once it dries it does set back a little bit where you're going to see in that final card it's a KRAFT color, but it shows up dark when it's wet. So once I stamped that, I picked up my paper, turned it once, and stamping again. So you stamp, turn, stamp, and it lines up in those corners of the stencil. And I'm going to go through and do that around the entire card until I get to the beginning of where I had started. So you don't move your stamp. That's why a stamping tool is really helpful to have. I'm not really sure if you can do it without a stamping tool because these stencils, this is the regular sized MISTI. These don't fit in a mini MISTI. So I'm just going to continue going around in that circle, stamping that in my ink, and then I'll rotate. So it's just stamp and rotate, and I'll go through that entire thing. And these paw prints I thought were just really super cute to have going around in that circle there. So I'm just going to keep going. There is another size stencil too for a little bit bigger size that you could use, but I just chose to use this one for now. And here I'm coming up on the last paw print, stamping that twice, and then I can clean that stamp off, and I will come in with another image off of this stamp set, and it is this little fish bones stamp. So I'm placing that in between the paw prints. Now I just have to line this up once. I won't have to do it again. So I line that up where I want it, and now I'm going to come in with Moonlit Fog. And like I said, these do dry, or these do stamp darker when they're wet, and then they'll kind of dim down a little bit once it's dry. So this is going to be a really nice gray color. I thought worked well with the paw print, and I'm just going to go through that same process. I'm going to stamp that up twice and then rotate my cardstock, and I just keep going around. And you can do this with any of the images. You could do this even with the cats. You could have cats peeking out from a circle or anything like that. So just stamp and turn. And I'm just doing one turn here. You could fully turn the whole thing if you didn't want something in every single spot on that wreath. You don't have to. That's totally your decision. However you'd want to have your wreath built up. But I'll just continue this along until I get that nice, perfect wreath of kitty cat images. So this is just a really fun, handy tool to have. And I like holding it down with the magnet just to make sure that it doesn't move from the corners. That way my placement is always going to be the same in between each paw print. And that'll finish up the last little fish bones. So that is the finished wreath part of the card, and I'm going to be using some, I believe this is the KRAFT cardstock that I'm using from Paper Tray Ink, and this is also a new die set that's coming out from CC Designs. So you'll have to make sure to check the CC Designs blog for more inspiration. The team will be providing previews over the next few days. And I had used that die I actually cut it twice. I cut once from white cardstock to create that middle piece, and then once from the key lime cardstock. So I had a pop of color on my card. So now I'm just coming in and I'm taking one of those cute little kitty images and I'm stamping this on Neenah's Solar White cardstock with a Copic friendly ink. This is just the preferred choice of cardstock that I like to color with. You can use whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you have available. And I decided to color my kitty gray. We used to have a gray kitty before it passed away, so that was the colors that I chose. And I'm coming in with my darkest color first. And this is also just something how I color. I usually start with my darkest colors. I jump right in, lay out my shadow areas. So for this one, I'm putting a little bit on the ears there where they're kind of tucked behind the head, and around the cheek areas to define the cheeks where there would be some depth there, and behind the tail and around the legs. So I'm just going to go in, get those shadows laid down, and then I can start blending out with from darkest to lightest with the rest of my Copic colors that I chose. And I'm sticking with the cool grays to color my kitty. And typically when I do color with the Copic markers, I do 2 coats. And that's something of my personal preference too, just because you may have heard this in my previous videos, is that Neenah cardstock, and this is 80 pound, does soak up color. But I really like how it blends out. When I do my second layer of coloring, I really get a nice blend. It really just kind of mixes well. I don't have any definite lines showing, and I'm really happy with the results. So that's what I stick with. And then plus all of my cardstock matches. It's a really reasonable priced cardstock that I get a huge ream of. Like I said, just all personal preference. So I'm just blending those out. And then I come back in with the darkest and work on touching up my depth areas a little bit. And when it comes to the tail, I'm using my neutral grays, just kind of change up the shading a little bit on them. And I will have all of my supplies and the Copic colors that I used listed down below in my video description area and also on my blog, so be sure to check that out. So that way when you pick up your kitty stamps, you can reference this back if you like the results. So I'm going to finish this up and I'll catch you in just a couple minutes. Now that I have my cute kitty all colored up, I'm going to come in. There is coordinating dies that you can purchase for this set as well. So it would cut out the yarn and the paw print, all of that fun stuff. So I'm going to use that for my kitty cat. And I'm just going to line this up and hold this down with some Post-it tape This is just a nice tacky tape that'll hold my die in place so it doesn't move when I run it through the machine, and it won't rip my paper when I am finished and remove it. You can also fussy cut if you want, but I really like having the coordinating dies just because there's techniques that you can do with them, so it's just really handy to have. Saves me a little bit of time versus the fussy cutting. So this is going to be finished up fairly quickly. I don't have too much left to do. And I was originally planning on putting my cat in the middle, which he looks adorable with, but I really wasn't feeling it with where the sentiment would go with the wreath. So I'm just going to pick the sentiment, and I'm doing You're the Cat's Meow. I thought that was super cute. And like I said, I just kind of wasn't really feeling it with it being on the outside like that. And I really wanted a sentiment to go with this. So I decided to put my cat on the bottom, and he'd be looking up at the sentiment. So I'm going to go ahead and get that stamped into the centerpiece, and then I can just finish up this card by popping my cute kitty up with some foam squares. So that's just going to finish everything off. I really hope you enjoyed my card today. If you did, I would appreciate a big thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And be sure to head to my blog and also the CC Designs blog to check out more inspiration and the previews for the May 2018 release. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I will catch you later.